What's up, guys? Welcome to the Ginto Show wrestling recap for the week of January 4th to January 10th. Welcome. So I'll get into why I'm doing all these podcasts now, and I forgot to mention in the last episode that why the rebrand? Why go from Ginto Bros podcast to the Ginto Show? It's really quite simple. Back in March, my brother and I and my cousins, as well as Jericho, we did an episode with Marvel, and you know what? We had a fight towards the end. I think it was between Wolverine and Spider-Man for this fucking best Marvel character. So after that, if you listen to that podcast, like almost 3 hours, you heard that we had this huge fight at the end. So, I mean, not getting into too much, but basically, for me, I didn't want to get to that point again on another podcast. So, and I never asked my brother to do another podcast after that because, like, hey, if he didn't, I felt that he didn't want to do it after that, and I respect that. So I just decided to rebrand the whole podcast. Just so, hey, it's Ginto Bros, but where's your brother? I just wanted to change that, stop people from asking all that stuff. And I had a huge break between August till right now in January, so it's perfect time to relaunch and rebrand and start anew. So why the recap show for wrestling? Well, one of my goals for 2020 was to express myself artistically more. And by doing that, just, playing video games, maybe draw, maybe write poems, do more podcasts, stuff that I like to do. Because last year and the year before when I was in school, I didn't have, I had time to do podcasts, obviously, because I started in 2017. But most of your day consists of being under someone's guidance, someone watching over you. And for 2020, I wanted to express myself more as an individual, not doing things, strict. I don't want to be known just for a guy who works this position, this certain job or this position. And, I want people to know me as me, not just whatever you see on the internet, what I put out there. If you want to get to know me, you can either talk to me or message me or listen to the podcast, because I like being as real as I can without being too provocative or I don't know, get myself in trouble basically, because anything you say on the internet stays there. And so far I haven't done that. So, but yeah, for this wrestling show, I'll be talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, and AEW. This month started off with New Japan Pro Wrestling, the biggest show of the year. Most people call it the WrestleMania of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So they had their show on January 4th. But the difference this year is that they held it for 2 nights at the Tokyo Dome. This is because they had 4 huge matches, actually. 4? No, 3. So night 1, the huge match was the Intercontinental title match between Tetsuya Naito and Jay White. The winner of that match would get the winner of the heavyweight title match between Kazuchika Okada and Kota Ibushi. And the next night, that's where they would meet. And it made sense to do 2 nights because, past Tokyo Dome shows, WrestleKingdoms, they would be, 7 hours, 8 hours maybe. And spreading it out between 2, 4 to 5 hour shows makes sense. I mean, and in business-wise, they could make more money. So I'll get into that. New Japan. I'll only talk about matches that I've actually seen or actually care about. So for New Japan, there's tons of like tag team, 6-man, 8-man tag teams that mean nothing. So I'll start off with the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Titles match between David Finlay and Juice Robinson defending against Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga, and Tangaloa of the Bullet Club. This match was good. It was a solid tag team match. Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, they're the typical heels that that do heinous things like eye rakes or not stopping on rope breaks or hitting people with chairs. That's what they are. And for me, I'm a huge heel person. Like, just in this case, David Finlay and Juice Robinson. Like, I don't give a shit about any of those guys, especially Juice. Like, they're really pushing this guy down everyone's throats. And I still think he's a big jabroni ever since he was in NXT, or what some people call a J-Bron. So remember that. People I don't like J-Brons. But yeah, David Finlay and Juice Robinson, they won this match. Was I surprised? No, because tag teams like Gorillas of Destiny, they'll always be in the heavyweight tag team title picture, and they'll probably get it back in future events. Next match is the Texas Death Match between Jon Moxley and Lance Archer for the IWGP United States title. This is basically a last man standing match because, if you don't stand up in 10 seconds or you tap out, you lose. That's the only things you can win by. Jon Moxley is, ever since he left WWE as he was Dean Ambrose, he's gotten so over. He is huge in the what you call it's still professional, but it's bigger than indies because New Japan is not an indie. It's huge, and AEW is huge too. But he still goes around other promotions. But his two mains are New Japan and AEW. Lance Archer improved tremendously since I've last seen him a few years ago. This year he came into the G1 and he had an amazing match with Will Ospreay. Something that I had no idea he had in him because I've been seeing him for years. But previous to that one, because the year before he was in what do you call that? Pro Wrestling Noah. So I don't even watch that. I just watch New Japan for the Japanese scene. But yeah, he's really, really solid wrestler now. And Jon Moxley, of course, great performer. This match was brutal. They did a lot of street fighting. The ending was the what's fucking his move now? The Death Rider through the table, which was an awesome spot. Jon Moxley wins the United States title. He gets to face Juice Robinson as they had a rivalry previously. The story is Jon Moxley and Juice Robinson were supposed to fight in a previous event, but Jon Moxley was injured, so they couldn't have. They didn't wrestle each other, and that's when Lance Archer stepped in, beat Juice Robinson for the belt, and now Jon Moxley challenged Lance Archer because Jon didn't lose the belt to anybody. So there was a three-way between these guys, basically. So one versus the other and the other. The next match is for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. Hiromu Takahashi versus Will Ospreay. These guys had an amazing match. Great, amazing. I get tongue-tied, but it is what it is. Anyways, Hiromu is incredible. his chemistry with Will Ospreay, which he is also incredible. It's just, I don't know. These guys could wrestle any day of the week, and I won't get bored of it because their athleticism and chemistry and the story they tell in these matches is just great. Will Ospreay, he could be wrestler of the year with as many matches he had this year that were phenomenal. He was in the G1 and he's a junior heavyweight. So what G1 is a heavyweight tournament to challenge for the heavyweight title in WrestleKingdom. And Will Ospreay was a junior heavyweight, which they do not usually allow. There's certain cases where some do. But yeah, Will Ospreay was in that. So much good matches. G1 is a great tournament. Tons of matches though. So, if you want to watch everything, you have to dedicate yourself. Like I usually watch everything because it's in the summer and, I have time. But yeah, Hiromu Takahashi wins this match. Incredible match. Like I said, a lot of back and forth. And yeah, what I see from this is that Will Ospreay is going to move to the heavyweight division, compete over there, or I don't know his contract status, but hey, there's tons of other promotions that he can go to. But I see him going to the heavyweight division and putting himself in that picture. Next match is for the Intercontinental title, Naito versus Jay White. This was an okay match. I'm not a huge fan of Jay White. He's just this, I don't know. He went so hard as a typical heel that it's not really noteworthy. But the thing for him is that he's solid. He can play the part, but it's not that believable. And he has a great look. Like he's jacked, solid, ripped. He's good looking for wrestling, I guess. And I can see why they put him in the main event picture, but this is Naito's year. Naito basically is the most popular wrestler in New Japan right now. And his storyline for basically his career is that he won the G1 7 years ago, and he would battle Okada for the title at WrestleKingdom. But then the Intercontinental title match set up that year was Tanahashi versus Nakamura. So New Japan wasn't confident that people would care about Okada versus Naito due to the popularity of Tanahashi and Nakamura. So they gave them a vote to see which main event they wanted. And the main event they chose was Nakamura and Tanahashi because Naito wasn't that over. And I mean, Tanahashi and Nakamura are fucking legends in New Japan. So they main evented, and the world title match was second to last. So that was Naito's gripe ever since. And he won the title before, but then he also lost it right away. So this match was the battle for that main event spot against Okada or Ibushi. So, in my mind, it was kind of clear what was going to happen, but hey, you never know in wrestling. Naito wins. And right, it was a solid match. Not great, because Jay White, I think he's okay. He's passable, but it takes a while because he's a very young guy as well. The next and final match for night one is the IWGP Heavyweight Title match between Okada and Kota Ibushi. So this match was really good. Ibushi and Okada. This is the epitome of strong style. Strong style is basically strikes, suplexes, that look basically real. They look like it fucking hurts. People like to say wrestling's fake. I mean, it is, but it's also like a play. It's also staged. They do get hurt. A lot of people say that it's not real, but at points it is real. People do get injured. It's like and slamming people on the ground. Takes a lot of skill to take that right and not hurt later on, like not hurt a lot, basically. And obviously there are other moves, but yeah, you can get hurt in these matches for sure. But these guys go hard all the time. Kota Ibushi at one point looked like he was like hitting Okada like for real. And it was a great spot because the crowd just started booing his ass, and I'm like, holy shit, chill out, man. I was hoping Ibushi was gonna win because I'm a huge fan of him, man. And I like Okada. I understand that he has great matches, but he's kind of vanilla. He's had a Gato, which is he's kind of the top guy in New Japan with booking and storylines. Uh, they Okada's one of those guys where they push people down your throats, but he is very, very good wrestler. And some people think he's the greatest of all time in New Japan. But, he's not my favorite. I think he's too vanilla still. And Kota Ibushi, he's a guy that he's so entertaining. He's kind of a rebel. He's only signed to New Japan full time this year. And all the other years, he was just a guy that they signed for like matches. He was a freelancer basically. Per appearance, he wrestled. But yeah, Okada defeated Ibushi, which sets up the next night between him, Okada, and Naito for both belts. If I was to summarize the first night, it was at the time it was great. Like I said, the top 4 matches were really solid. My favorite match was Hiromu versus Will Ospreay because the excitement was just there. So for Wrestle Kingdom 14 Night 2, we start off with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title match between Roppongi 3K versus El Fantasmo and Taiji Ishimori of Los Ingobernables. Really good match. Roppongi 3K, they're really good. They're young guys. They used to be part of the Young Lions, which are basically rookies of New Japan. And they really worked hard because when they were young, like when I first saw them like training and wrestling, what they do in Japan is like they only wear solid black. And then every time you progress and get better, you get different colors. So you get a white boot or you get patterns on your trunks. But these guys, I mean, they graduated and now they have colorful tights and boots and whatnot. It's like a video game. Like once you get experience, you get new merch, you get new clothes, you get a haircut. Yeah, really solid match. Again, Roppongi 3K win the tag team title, or I think they just defended. Next match was the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship between Zack Sabre Jr. and Sonata. This match is really solid as well. If you don't like Zack Sabre Jr.'s style, you will never like Zack Sabre Jr. You got to respect it. It's British style. It's a lot of chain wrestling, submissions, and holds. And this is basically what they did, him and Sonata. Because Sonata can do it as well, but he's also a high flyer and he has power. He's basically a heavyweight. And Zack Sabre Jr. is kind of like a cruiserweight with holds though. But he has been in the heavyweight division for a long time. But yeah, his style can translate with any of these big guys. Zack Sabre Jr. won this match for that belt. Next match is the United States Championship between Jon Moxley and Juice Robinson. Solid match as well. Like I said earlier, I don't like Juice Robinson. But Jon Moxley, like I love that guy. When he was Dean Ambrose, he was my favorite Shield member. Another solid performance by him. It's good that Jon Moxley won because I hate seeing Juice win anything. And Juice already has a belt, so He doesn't need it. Next match, Never Openweight Championship between Hiroki Goto and Kenta. The Neverweight Open Championship. This belt was basically a belt for guys who were near the top, but kind of will never be at the top. That's what I find. And the whole concept of belt openweight is that you can wrestle heavyweights and junior heavyweights, which usually they don't cross together, but this belt gives them the chance to do so. Um, anyways, Hiroki Goto, he's actually one of my favorite guys. I liked when I started watching New Japan. Kenta came back from WWE, and he just developed into a great heel. Just recently joining the Bullet Club. His story was that Katsuyori Shibata, which he had to retire after losing to Okada because they had a real headbutt that basically almost killed. I hate to laugh, but it's not funny, but it's crazy. It almost killed him, basically. So Shibata mentored Kenta when he came back, and Kenta betrayed him, joined the Bullet Club, even attacked him, which I hope they pay off later on, because when they had a spot where when Kenta betrayed, what's his fucking name? Anyway, he beat some guy up. I forgot his name. Shibata came in, beat up a lot of the Bullet Club guys, but then eventually got overwhelmed, and then Kenta beat his ass. And Hiroki Goto, who is Shibata's best friend, basically wanted to get revenge, and he did, winning this title. Next match, Jay White versus Kota Ibushi. This is like basically a loser's match, third place, which is cool, but it was a good match. I mean, Ibushi's awesome. Again, Jay White, not my favorite, but Ibushi really carried this match for me. Solid match, but Jay White wins because, Jay White's the leader of Bullet Club, and Ibushi got hit by a ton of fucking low blows, brass knucks, chair shots. Kind of dumb, but solid enough that I liked most of it. Next match is the AEW champion Chris Jericho versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. The story of this is that Chris Jericho challenged Tanahashi at WrestleKingdom, and if Tanahashi wins, he gets a title shot against Chris Jericho. This is a big deal because AEW and New Japan, AEW basically started with the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, and Cody being in New Japan first, and then starting All In, which was an event that was basically the hugest independent event ever held in the United States. And then eventually those five guys, which they call themselves the Elite, they started AEW, and which caused tension and a rift between those of AEW and New Japan. So just the thought of AEW and New Japan working together was exciting. Chris Jericho is one of these guys that he's big enough that he can wrestle for both companies. John Moxley's also has that contract too, where he can go to both. Really good match. Chris Jericho, probably is the best character in wrestling right now. His promos, even his matches for a guy being over 50, really solid. And Tanahashi is old too. I mean, not in a bad way, but age-wise, he's put a lot of years in wrestling. This is like basically guys from the early 2000s wrestling each other. This was like another Chris Jericho versus Eddie Guerrero match, if you've ever seen that before. Really solid match. Chris Jericho wins, but hopefully they do come together, the two companies, AEW and New Japan, to settle, just to like help each other grow. because they're kind of stagnant, both companies, and WWE's always, they're always flourishing business wise, not in terms of viewership though, but hey, they keep getting bigger. Final match: Tetsuya Naito versus Kazuchika Okada. Naito wins. It was probably my favorite match of both nights because, the story culminated with Naito winning. A lot of solid back and forth, a lot of near falls. Naito basically got his ass beat for most of the match. His leg was hurt, which kind of stopped his offense for a bit. But typical wrestling, you recover right away and then you can do all your moves again. But, uh, you're, not, you're taking your, what? I forgot that term, but your belief is, taken out when you're accepting what you see. That's basically what you have to do for wrestling. Yeah, but it was solid. Naito wins and great match. Probably what match of the year thus far. It's fucking January, the first week, basically. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Wrestle Kingdom 14. I will then be going to WWE programming. Oh, wow. 4 people. Thanks, guys. Who's Magic Man? Oh, all good. I don't know if this call-in stuff works, but, ask questions in the chat. Maybe I'll answer them. We'll see. Next is WWE Monday Night Raw. This is the first Raw 2020, and we see Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman come down. Typical Brock Lesnar Paul Heyman promo. Heyman talks a lot of shit, and then Brock stares into the crowd and does nothing, but which is cool. I love Brock. He's also Canadian now, and he's good for him. A match: Rey Mysterio versus Andrade. These guys wrestle a ton of times. They always have solid matches. Their best match was probably their second match on SmackDown, maybe a few months ago. Yeah, Andrade wins basically, which makes sense. He's just won the title from Rey at a house show, and Rey's basically just this guy who puts people over while also still being awesome. He's one of those guys that can still do that. But yeah, Andrade wins. I'm not gonna go talk about like backstage promos and all that. Watch the show if you want to see all that, because I kind of fast forwarded through all that anyway. Next match is a triple threat for the Raw Tag Team titles. Street Profits versus the OC versus the Viking Raiders. Solid match. For main roster matches between tag teams like these, like Street Profits, OC, and Viking Raiders that have been on the main roster for a bit. It's solid, but it could be better, but it won't be better. It's Monday Night Raw. These guys won't go all out. When these guys were in NXT for like the OC and not primetime. Oops, sorry. The Street Profits, they would go hard in NXT because they had matches once a week or once a month when it comes to takeovers. Viking Raiders win, and this should set up matches between each team after that. The Raw Tag Team division is kind of not that great. They have great tag teams in the roster, but they've wrestled so many times before. It's going to take a lot for them to overcome their previous performances. But yeah. Next match is the stupid Eric Rowan versus KJ Orso. He's a jobber, basically. Eric Rowan has his dumb pet cage that people fucking react backstage with him and like it's a monster or something, but it's kind of dumb. I kind of don't care about this stuff. Eric Rowan, he's a good wrestler. and good character, but this fucking pet cage shit, so dumb. He wins, obviously. Next match, Akira Tozawa, he's basically the best jobber for the Stars lately. He battles AJ Styles. AJ Styles he's in a program with Randy Orton. Sorry, Magic Man. What are you trying to say? How do this work? This podcast. Can you hear it? Let me know. I'm pretty sure you can hear it. I tested it earlier. But yeah. AJ Styles and Randy Orton are in a program together. AJ Styles used the Styles Clash. He also, well, he didn't use the Styles Clash, sorry. He used the Draping DDT, which is Randy Orton's move, and he won the match with an RKO. The most recognizable move in wrestling is the RKO. AJ Styles wins this match. Next match, Sarah Logan versus Charlotte Flair. Again, Sarah Logan is basically a jobber for the Stars. She jobs out. What happened here? I think it was a disqualification. Yeah, it was kind of dumb. I mean, this is WWE though. Drew McIntyre versus No Way Jose. Drew McIntyre. He should have been champion a long time ago when he returned. He basically has a total package. He's a big guy, 6'8", 6'7". He has great promos, great in-ring skills. Like I said, he's jacked. I don't know why he's not wearing a title right now, but he beats No Way Jose, obviously. Next match, Shelton Benjamin versus Aleister Black. Another jobber match. Oh my god, Raw sucks. There's a lot of jobber matches in Raw. Shelton Benjamin, again, is a jobber for the Stars. He loses to Aleister Black. And next, so wow, this is the main event basically. Seth Rollins and AOP versus Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and a surprise return, The Big Show. What is this, 1999? Holy shit. I like Big Show, but I mean, do I need to see him wrestle? No, I don't. This ended in disqualification. Big Show and Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens win. Yeah, that's the first Raw of 2020. As you can tell in my voice, I fucking hate Raw. Raw basically sucks. I mean, I love wrestling and I'll watch it every week. It's kind of like, what's wrong with me, buddy? I'm watching stuff I don't like, but it's wrestling, which I like in general. But sometimes things in Raw are good, so I'll stick to it. Next, we go to Wednesday night, AEW Dynamite. The show starts off with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus Private Party. There's a storyline between Page and Kenny Omega where Page is basically sick of being in the Elite, and Kenny Omega, which most people see as the leader of the Elite, they are having a program, not obviously, but to the audience, you can tell if you've watched wrestling, you can see there's a development of a riff happening. And Adam Page is also kind of an alcoholic now. He drinks beer and takes shots during or before and after matches. Kind of fucked up, but that's cool. The audience likes it. I mean, I like seeing something different for him because I'm not a huge fan of Adam Page. But I am a huge Private Party fan. They're a really solid tag team. And I always liked Kenny Omega. I mean, he's at one point a year ago or 2 years ago, he was the wrestler of the year. But ever since he got into AEW, kind of fizzled down. I mean, he is management now, which I understand. I kind of feel this way about the Bucks too. And so, I understand it, but liked you guys back in the day when you were just the wrestlers. The win goes to Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. I don't think that should have been the choice. I think Private Party should have won, as they are a tag team, and it goes into their records. And Hangman Page and Kenny Omega are trying to develop this riff, which I believe they're doing. But winning matches shouldn't be that way. But whatever. Next match. Oh no! After that match, Pac beat up Michael Nakazawa backstage, and he yelled at Kenny. He was yelling at Kenny Omega to give him a rematch so they can because they have a tied record right now, 1-1. So rubber match basically. Next, we get into basically the worst match of the week: Chris Statlander versus Rio. It was so dumb. What's happening? Awesome Kong and Brandy Rhodes have this crew. What are they called again? Anyway, they interfere basically. It's a big shit show. And Statlander gets distracted and then Rio wins. So dumb. So dumb. Next, we have Christopher Daniels versus Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara, huge fan of this guy. Ever since he got into the inner circle, he really shined he is really shining as a comedic figure. And he's a young guy, he's exciting, and he's funny, and he has good in-ring work. Huge fan of this guy. Christopher Daniels, you could tell he's in the twilight of his career. No offense to this guy. It's kind of sad seeing him the way he is right now. When you look back 17 years ago? No, 15 years ago when him, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe had that triple threat in TNA. One of the best matches I've ever seen. And AJ Styles and Samoa Joe are flourishing in the WWE, while Christopher Daniels is having a gimmick where he can't do moonsaults anymore. And Sammy Guevara beats him due to distraction from Penta. Good match. It was all right. I mean, it was a good match. I like Sammy Guevara. Next match, we have, I think this is the main event. No. Yeah, main event match. There's a main event segment later on. We have Cody and Dustin Rhodes versus the Lucha Bros. Really good match. These tag teams are really solid. Cody and Dustin Rhodes at one point in the WWE tagged, and they had one of the best tag matches I've ever seen against the Shield. And Lucha Bros are always solid. They always have good matches. They kind of it's kind of like a circus when you wrestle these guys. A lot of things going on. They do a lot of moves, not a lot of selling, which could be good, which could be bad. But once you've seen a Lucha Bros match, I mean, you've kind of seen them all. Solid match, good match. The Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes win. Next, we have MJF coming out. Ugh, hate MJF. MJF, is he the Miz 2.0? I don't think so. But, I mean, people think so. Just not me. Not a huge fan of this guy. His in-ring kind of sucks. He's kind of like a small guy too. Miz is way bigger than him. It's kind of weird. But if he's trying to be Miz 2.0, you kind of have to look formidable against who you're wrestling against. And he's having a program against Cody, which, I mean, they are supposedly best friends in real life. Or MJF and Cody's the mentor of MJF. Kind of too early because AEW started in October. But I guess do what you got to do. I don't know. Not my company, Cody. Anyway, DDP comes out, mocks MJF, which basically sets up a match for next week. Is MJF DDP and QT Marshall against MJF. Who's his bodyguard's name again? Fucking forgot his name. I forgot the rest of MJF's crew's name. But anyway, it's a 6-man tag. Next match: Jurassic Express and Luchasaurus versus Orange Cassidy in the Best Friends. My brother is a huge fan of Jurassic Express. Not the small guys, basically Luchasaurus, because Luchasaurus was a big brother, and he was a good competitor. I like Jungle Boy though. Jungle Boy's a cool. He's a really good guy, a really good wrestler for how young he is. And Marco Stunt, he gets a lot of criticism for what he does in the ring. He dances and he's so tiny. I think he's like only 5 foot, which is a crazy gimmick to have in wrestling right now because he's not like a mini wrestler like in Lucha. He's bigger than that, but he's also, I don't know, he's too small, basically, which is fine. AEW wants him there, and it's cool. And I like the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent and Orange Cassidy. Um, Solid match as well. I like everything Luchasaurus does. He's a big guy that can move, and Best Friends and Orange Cassidy, they're kind of like veterans. Orange Cassidy's kind of like this. How do you describe his character? He is basically nonchalant, but he does big spots. Yes, this is what he does. There's a certain spot in the match where he goes signaling a 540, but all he does is fucking belly flop, which is fucking hilarious. But yeah, Jurassic Express win. I mean, Luchasaurus is one of my favorites in AEW. Oh, next we have the main event segment between the Inner Circle, which is Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and what's his name? Jack. Help me out here, guys. Jack. Anyway, he's an MMA fighter as well. Anyways, Moxley comes down. Well, before I get started, Moxley and Jericho, they have a program where Jericho wants him to join Inner Circle, basically to avoid wrestling him because Jericho's a heel and he wants to not wrestle Moxley out of being perceived as scared. But Moxley goes down to the ring with his classic Shield entrance going through the audience. He goes down to the ring and he says, "Yes, I'm joining Inner Circle." They have a huge champagne party that kind of goes on too long, probably like 5 minutes of champagne getting fucking squirted on everybody. Can't find the word, but I'm using squirted. Yeah. And then another part of this was Jericho had to give him a car because that's what Jericho offered him in the deal to join Inner Circle. You get a car, and then you get to be part of 49% of the group he offered Moxley. And it's kind of obvious what happens next. Moxley waits until Sammy and Jack get out of the ring. Jake Hager is his fucking name. There you go, Jake Hager. They get out of the ring, and then Moxley grabs a mic and a bottle of champagne and says, "Oh, I'm just kidding. I would never join this group. I don't need anything from you. I only need this belt," which Jericho's holding. Boom, smashes him with champagne bottle, gives him the Death Rider, and then he fights off Guevara and Hager and leaves. It was okay. I mean, typical wrestling segment. Someone says one thing, they fucking lie, and then they get beat up. I've seen it many times, but I was entertained because these guys are really good at promos. But yeah, that's it for AEW Dynamite. On to the next one, WWE NXT, my favorite show of the week. So NXT starts off with Rhea Ripley coming down. This is the first NXT since Rhea Ripley has won the belt, the NXT Women's Championship. She comes down, and then Tony Storm comes down to basically challenge her, but they're still both faces. And Tony Storm's going to wrestle tomorrow, Sunday at NXT UK Takeover Blackpool 2, which I will also be previewing at the end of the show. She will battle Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray. And then after they talk about all this shit, I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to get 2 belts at Worlds Collide, which is basically what they're going to set up as a match. Candice LeRae comes in, and then she's just there just to set up this 6-man as Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray, and Bianca Belair come down. And then they have a match, a 6-women tag. We don't have to get into the match itself, but it's a solid 6-woman. Rhea Ripley and Tony Storm and Candice LeRae win. They have this moment at the end where Rhea Ripley, Tony Storm, and Candice LeRae, they look at the belt, but then signifying that they want the belts, which is like Candice LeRae and Tony Storm do. But they just want a match and they're all good. But then they are also competitors as well. Next, we have the first round of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Imperium versus the Forgotten Sons. Really good tag team match. NXT tag team division, any NXT tag team, so that includes UK. They always have solid matches. I've kind of never seen a bad match between these the tag team division. Imperium wins at the end though, because they are challenging for the belt tomorrow at the UK event. So they win, and you'll see. I will see them tomorrow at Blackpool 2. Next, we have Austin Theory versus Joaquin Wilde. Really good match. Joaquin Wilde was in TNA, and Austin Theory was in Evolve. He was their champion for a bit, but then he's only 22, so they brought him in early at NXT. Which makes sense. If you Google Austin Theory, he's basically a former bodybuilder, and he's really jacked. And, he has the looks as well. He has in-ring. He could fly. He has power. Kind of like he's the it fact. He has the it factor. I don't know about his promos, though. Never heard him do a promo, but he's very good. While Joaquin Wilde, he's a veteran. He was Zima Ion, aka DJZ, in Impact, and he's Filipino, which I'm Filipino as well, so I always cheer for that guy. Really good match, a lot of lucha spots, but Austin Theory wins with a version of his TKO, which is basically a fireman carry to a cutter. And yeah, Austin Theory wins. Next match is Undisputed Era versus Gallus. Undisputed Era, basically the best thing happening in NXT for the past couple of years. And Gallus, which are the tag team champions of NXT UK. And again, Undisputed Era, the tag team champions of NXT regular, I guess what you call it. Not USA, but, really, really good match. Undisputed Era, I don't hate any of those matches. Their matches, they have really good matches to me, because Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, ever since I saw them as Red Dragon and ROH to New Japan to WWE, They've always had good matches, even singles matches. In New Japan, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly really flourished as singles competitors. If you haven't seen any of their matches, especially in the Best of Super Juniors um, matches and Kyle O'Reilly versus Shibata, those are must watches if you want to see them as singles competitors, because they will be successful as a tag team. That's their bread and butter. But if you haven't seen them wrestle as singles, go watch those matches because they are very good on their own. Next, we have the promo versus with Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor. Gargano basically is um, the face that the face of NXT. He has been there the longest with Ciampa that is still on TV because there has been a lot of people on NXT that are still there but aren't on TV. He's that baby face, and Finn Balor came back to NXT, which I respect because he could have just stayed on the main roster, being mid card level, but he wanted to be something different. They wouldn't let him be a heel in the main roster, but they let him be a heel in NXT, which Triple H runs, which shows the difference in the main roster in NXT. They give a lot of performers have a lot of input when they get into NXT, especially at Finn Balor's level when he is or was the former world championship holder. Yeah, Finn Balor I find was great in this. He said very little, but was very menacing as well, and he looks fucking dope with his attire and his Bullet Club guns that he still does, which is awesome. Next, we have Mia Yim versus Kaden Carter. It's just a showcase for what Kaden Carter can do. I think she's been a lot on NXT TV a lot recently. She's kind of the small, half black, half Filipino girl that can do high spots and lucha moves. She's kind of like the Ember Moon, but not as good, which I think they're kind of developing her as. And Mia Yim was always good since Impact. Good match, short, but it was a showcase for both of them. Mia Yim was in a title match that was very bad at Takeover. She kind of needs for me to recover from that. But yeah, good match. Mia Yim wins. Next, we have the main event. Oh, what a match this was. Damian Priest versus Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic and versus Cameron Grimes. Damian Priest, great entrance with the fucking fire arrows, the music, spotlight. Kind of remind me of what they did with Baron Corbin, but then Damian Priest is a way better performer than Baron Corbin. Then Dominic Dijakovic comes in. Well, he's very good as well. You can kind of tell who they're pushing between these four guys because these guys could all go into the main. I mean, not Cameron Grimes yet, but Damian Priest, Keith Lee, and Dominic can go up to the main roster and kind of flourish because they're the future of WWE. They're three big guys that can perform and talk. Yeah, they're what Vince wants. They're the perfect prototype for WWE. Cameron Grimes comes in. He's the smallest of them. He's been in TNA. He's been in ROH, I believe. And Pete, I first saw him in PWG in the best. What is it called? It was their tournament in the summer. Basically, he is a very good wrestler. He was stuck in TNA for a bit, but I'm glad he's in WWE right now. Anyway, for this match, Keith Lee comes in last because they're building this whole match for him because Keith Lee is the next star coming up. He's going to be in the main roster sooner than later. He went in at Survivor Series. He was last against Roman Reigns, which was fucking huge for somebody to be, because Roman Reigns is the face of WWE right now, no matter who's a champion on both sides. Keith Lee went one-on-one with him, had an amazing showing. He did a lot of awesome spots. I actually thought they were going to give it to Keith Lee that win, but Roman won, and then they had this fist bump that Roman basically meant that he respects Keith Lee. And Keith Lee is also African American. He could be their next African American star. He has all the qualities. He can talk. He's huge. He's strong. He's menacing. He's basically, I feel he's the better Biggie Langston. Not Langston anymore, but Biggie. I feel bad for Biggie because he could have been that, but Keith Lee, they have plans for him. A lot of sweet spots. At one point, Dijakovic tosses Priest into Keith Lee, and Keith Lee catches Damian Priest and starts flailing him around, attacking Grimes and Dominic, and then he powerbombs Dominic. He powerbombs Priest on Dominic. Awesome spot. A lot of battling outside, a lot of flips. And there's this cool spot with the camera that Dominic and Damian were about to chokeslam each other, and then Keith Lee in the center, dead on against the hard camera. He comes in from the back, and then he double chokeslams them. Awesome spot. But yeah, Keith Lee wins this match. Not to get too long, not to talk about that long, because it's a long match. Good match, great match. Keith Lee wins. He will be facing Roderick Strong. I don't know if it's either next week. No, it says 2 weeks from now. Yeah, we get Keith Lee versus Roderick Strong. I don't know who's going to win that match, because Undisputed Era, they're the top guys of the whole brand. But Keith Lee, I feel they do have plans for him in the main roster sooner than later. So are they going to bring him up soon? Or are they going to let him be a champion for a bit and then bring him up later on after WrestleMania, maybe? We'll see. I think Keith Lee is going to win the Rumble. So we'll see if he wins the belts. Next, we have WWE Smackdown. SmackDown, ever since they went into Fox, there's a lot of anticipation, but it basically became Raw 2.0 with Blue. Kind of disappointing, but this episode for sure was better than Raw, because Raw was fucking a bore. So first we got Miz in a Miz TV segment with John Morrison. I love that John Morrison's back. The former Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact. He's been away from the company for, let's say, either 9 years or 7 years. When I came back to wrestling in 2011, he was there and then left. So that must have been 9 years ago that he hasn't been in the company. Basically, this is the Miz turning heel and Morrison solidifying himself as a heel as well. They're back to being a tag team. The Usos come in and then they basically talk shit. And they're setting up a tag team match between these two for the title, I assume. Royal Rumble weekend, I think. But yeah, we have Kofi Kingston versus The Miz. I've seen these guys wrestle for fucking years, so not a lot of exciting things happen. There's this amazing spot where Johnny Morrison does a tuck gainer onto Big E, and it looked so cool because he jumped off the steel steps and landed on Big E and landed on his feet as well. Just fucking dope. Like, I mean, I've seen him do so much stuff in wrestling, but for some reason with being on WWE programming again makes him look awesome. Next, we have Alexa Bliss versus Mandy Rose. This match, not good. These girls are absolutely beautiful, though. Like seeing that. Not great wrestlers, I believe. Mandy Rose wins off distraction, obviously, from Heavy Machinery. Oh my god, I hate Heavy Machinery. Oh, these guys. Heavy Machinery. They were in NXT. They didn't win jack shit, but they are big guys with mechanic characters. And this fucking guy, what's his name? Otis. He does the worm. He's like this fatty that eats a lot. He rubs the stomach. It's kind of a joke. I hate seeing them on my TV. He has this program with Mandy Rose that they're flirting. I don't know if it's gonna be a real thing. I don't know. Mandy's into it, maybe. I'm not sure. But basically, I was asking, like my brother and I were watching, and then they distracted Alexa Bliss. Then I'm like, are they supposed to be heels now? That's such a heel move to do. And then Alexa Bliss loses. What the fuck? So dumb. Oh, next, even worse, Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks. Not a huge fan of Sasha Banks. Not Sasha Banks. I love Sasha Banks. Sorry, Lacey Evans. Not a huge fan of her. She was one of those competitors in NXT where she was on there a lot, but she didn't accomplish anything, and then they moved her up to the main roster, which I get because she's a former veteran of the army, I believe, and she's a mother, which is very respectable. Her character is the all-American girl, which I get that people should cheer for, but she's not a good wrestler. Nothing happens because Bailey appears on screen and says Banks isn't there. Basically, nothing happened. Next, we have Shinsuke Nakamura versus Braun Strowman. I don't know what they're doing with either of these guys. I don't know what Braun did. He was in the main event picture for a long time. Didn't win. And now he's just middling in the mid card for some reason. My brother and I talked about this before, not on a podcast or anything, but he must have done something to not win the belt because he was more pushed than Reigns at a period of time, especially when Reigns was not on TV because of his because he kind of retired for a bit due to his leukemia. And then Braun didn't win anything. I mean, he won like the Battle Royal and the Tag Team Championship, but then I mean, for a guy that big and charismatic, and he's a good wrestler. Um, yeah, they didn't give him a belt, any belt. Kind of weird. I don't know. And Shinsuke Nakamura, WWE main roster, Vince McMahon does not know what to do with foreign wrestlers. It's so clear. I don't know why Shinsuke was at one point, like recently, the best wrestler in the world, and now he still gives solid performances. I'll give him that. He still wrestles like he loves wrestling, and he has awesome fucking attire now, like way better than he did in New Japan. But he's stuck in the mid card, and he's lined up with Cesaro and Sami Zayn. Another two guys that are fucking completely wasted. Those guys could be in the main roster or should be in the main roster. Not main roster, main event picture. All three of them. But yeah, they're just stuck in this thing with Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman beats their asses. Anyway, Braun Strowman wins this match, setting up a title match with Nakamura eventually. I hope Nakamura doesn't lose his belt because, I mean, God, what's going to happen with him if he doesn't have any belt? Promo for Sheamus. He's back. He wants Shorty G now. Cool, man. Next, Reigns, the Usos, Dolph Ziggler, King, Baron Corbin. Reigns comes out with a promo, just saying how, talking shit against Corbin. Corbin comes out, talks shit to Reigns. Usos come in, Dolph Ziggler come in, and this sets up the Usos versus Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin. Oh, I'm a huge Usos fan. I love that they're back. They've been away from wrestling for almost 6 months, maybe half a year. Yeah, 6 months. I think the last time I saw them was maybe in the summer. They had one of them had a DUI, but they both have DUIs ever since they were in WWE. They constantly get DUIs for some reason. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they got busted for that, and they had to take time off to figure things out, mentally, physically. Yeah, so they just came back this week for a match. But yeah, they have haircuts now. They have full sleeve tattoos. I think Jay has a chest tattoo, which I love. Like, if you don't know me, I have a half sleeve Polynesian tattoo, and I got it because of the Usos, Roman Reigns, and The Rock. I love that kind of tattoo art and what it represents as well. But yeah, winners by disqualification: King, Corbin, and Ziggler. Because Roman Reigns speared Corbin because Corbin hit him. Another dumb DQ. But yeah, we see Bobby Roode beat up Roman Reigns. Bobby Roode has been gone because he got popped for a wellness violation. I think was PEDs. Kind of obvious because Roode's pretty jacked now. But he's back, so they're setting up a 6-man between these two groups. And that's for SmackDown. Better than Raw, but not great. NXT, again, was my favorite show of the week, like it is every week. So now we're down to the preview for NXT UK. We'll go match by match from the beginning. Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate. I haven't been watching NXT UK because there's so much wrestling going on. But then I am gonna watch this tomorrow. I like most of the guys on UK. They have a lot of solid wrestlers there. Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate. These two, one of my favorites in UK. I think they should give the push to Devlin, and then Bate goes on to NXT regular, if you want to call that. Jordan Devlin, very underrated. If you see his matches, I think it was OTT in the UK and another one where he wrestled Walter. Very amazing matches. I think Devlin's gonna win. I want him to win. He should win. So I got Devlin for that. Next, Eddie Dennis versus Trent Seven. Trent Seven, he's in a group with Tyler Bate, and help me out here. Mustache Mountain. British Strong Style. Let me look this up. British Strong Style. Pete Dunne. Yes, they're in a crew together. Real life crew. Like, they're very close friends. Don't care for Eddie Dennis. I want Trent Seven to win. Next is a ladder match for the NXT UK Tag Titles. Gallus, Wolfgang, and Mark Coffey are the champions versus the Grizzled Young Vets. Zach Gibson and James Drake versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster versus Imperium, Fabian Eichner, and Marcel Bartel. My brother and I were talking about this. We think Imperium is going to win because they have a Worlds Collide match against the Undisputed Era. Undisputed Era has all the belts in NXT. That is the tag team belts, the North American title, and the world title for NXT. And then Imperium, they have Walter, and he has a UK title. So by giving Imperium the tag titles, you have two groups: Imperium with the UK titles, and you have NXT the Undisputed Era in NXT regular with all the belts. So you'll have all champs versus champs, basically, for the two brands as worlds collide in January. Not January, maybe February. No, January. Royal Rumble weekend. You'll have champs versus champs. Next, we have the NXT UK Women's Championship. Kaylee Ray, Piper Niven versus Toni Storm. For me, this goes to Piper Niven. I actually think she's really good. Kaylee Ray's good as well, so her and Piper Niven could battle for the belts. I don't think Toni Storm is gonna win. One, because she's already been champion, and two, she can be a bigger star in regular NXT or even the main roster. So yeah, I'm going for Piper Niven for this one. Next, we have the world title match: Walter versus Joe Coffey. I don't know what the UK NXT brand or Triple H season Joe Coffey. Not a huge fan. Coffey fucking wrestled Pete Dunne, and they had a good match, but then Coffey isn't believable at all as a formidable opponent. He does solid matches, but I don't see him being Walter. It's basically heel versus heel, but then Walter is so popular that he's considered a face. So I'm going Walter with this one. But yeah, those are my reviews of wrestling for this week. If you want to listen to more of my episodes, not wrestling, you can go to the gintoshow.podbean.com. I hope to do a regular episode of the podcast and a wrestling recap, even maybe movie reviews, all in 1 week, just so I can get my thoughts out on all these subjects. Yeah, you can see that on gintoshow.podbean.com. I'm on Twitch TV, .tv/Carginto. You can follow me on Facebook, Carginto. My Instagram is Carginto. This is all together, obviously, because you can't have spaces. And then I'm on for the Ginto Show. I'm on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, Google Play. And yeah, that's everything. This is my Ginto Show wrestling recap for the week of January 4th to January 10th. Like, subscribe, and share. I'll be doing weekly live streams for all my episodes that I put up. I announced them on my Instagram at Carginto. But thank you for listening. Bye.